For decades, the narrow Strait of Hormuz remained the most dangerous chokehold in global trade and energy security.
Iranian influence and regional volatility turned every tanker passage into a potential global economic crisis.
India and Europe watched helplessly as energy prices spiked with every threat of closure.
The economic losses from disrupted shipments reached billions, while energy security hung by a thread.
Leaders in New Delhi and Brussels realized reliance on a single maritime route could no longer be tolerated. The strategic pivot began toward a diversified, multimodal land and sea architecture.
What emerged was the ambitious India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, known as IMEC.
Revamped port hubs in Dubai and Haifa became the critical gateways for this new route. High-speed rail links across the Arabian Peninsula promised to eliminate the need for vessels entering the Persian Gulf.
Digital cables and clean hydrogen pipelines turned IMEC into far more than a simple shipping lane.
The corridor integrated ports, rail, energy, and data into one seamless, resilient network.
Diplomatic alignment between the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Israel provided the stability needed for construction.
As regional conflicts intensified, the urgency for a permanent bypass grew even stronger.
The desert that once isolated nations now became the bridge for a new era of secure trade.
By 2026, IMEC had transformed from vision into operational segments, moving goods faster than ever.
Deep, authoritative war correspondent with cinematic reverb. If you want to understand how global trade is being permanently rewritten, subscribe to Clear Value for more untold stories.
The architecture combined sea legs from India to Gulf ports with overland rail to the Mediterranean. Hydrogen pipelines and digital infrastructure added layers of energy and data security.
This multimodal design created redundancy that single sea routes could never offer.
The corridor turned geographical vulnerability into a strategic fortress for participating nations.
European green technology investments poured into the Middle Eastern segments.
Made in India exports now reached European markets at record speed and lower costs.
The entire network operated with greater transparency and debt sustainability than older models.
Deep, authoritative war correspondent, tone with cinematic reverb. IMEC stood in stark.
When the 2026 Iran war escalated threats in the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb, IMEC proved its value.
When the 2026 Iran war escalated threats in the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb, IMEC proved its value.
Goods continued flowing securely, while traditional maritime routes faced constant risk.
The corridor successfully insulated global trade from specific maritime threats.
Transit time between Mumbai and Marseille dropped dramatically compared to the Suez route.
Experts projected up to 40% reduction in overall transit times.
This efficiency delivered billions in annual savings for traders and consumers alike. Diplomatic trust between key partners created the stable foundation for rapid progress.
Even amid regional volatility, the corridor maintained momentum through diversified routes.
Deep pipelines and rail links offered alternatives when sea lanes faced disruption.
The architecture proved flexible enough to adapt to real-time geopolitical pressures. IMEC demonstrated that secure overland connectivity could outperform vulnerable sea choke points. The corridor turned potential crisis into a catalyst for long-term strategic independence. European green technology and Indian manufacturing found perfect synergy along the route.
Investments surged as the corridor proved its economic and environmental advantages.
Transparency and collaborative financing set IMEC apart from debt-heavy alternatives.
The network effect began expanding influence into neighboring regions.
If the real forces reshaping global trade in 2026 fascinate you, subscribe to Clear Value and stay.
Made in India goods now flowed to Europe with unprecedented speed and reliability.
Global shipping prices began to stabilize as trade decentralized away from single choke points. Energy transit gained new resilience through diversified land-based pathways. Future expansion plans reached toward North Africa and Central Asia. The corridor created a permanent shift in how nations approached trade security. What began as a bypass evolved into a comprehensive new economic architecture.
Its success proved that collaborative, transparent projects could deliver lasting results.
By 2026, the IMEC corridor had permanently altered the landscape of global commerce.
India and Europe achieved greater energy and trade independence than ever before.
The Strait of Hormuz lost its absolute stranglehold on international supply chains.
New opportunities opened for industries across the participating nations. The corridor strengthened diplomatic and economic bonds across 3 continents.
Geographical disadvantages of the past became strategic advantages of the future.
Power in global trade now flowed through diversified, resilient corridors like IMEC.
For more revelations about the forces reshaping our connected world, stay with Clear Value and subscribe.
The IMEC story proves that bold vision combined with cooperation can overcome geography itself. What once a vulnerable bottleneck became a gateway of opportunity. India, Europe, and the Middle East together forged a more secure and prosperous future.
As the network continues expanding, the map of global trade will never look the same.
The permanent bypass of Hormuz marked the beginning of a new chapter in economic history. Innovation and diplomacy triumphed where confrontation once dominated. Future generations will navigate trade routes designed for resilience, not risk. The corridor stands as proof that shared prosperity can overcome old divisions. Every container moving along IMEC carries the promise of a more connected world. The revolution in trade security continues to unfold across the region. What the Strait once controlled, the corridor has now liberated. A new Silk Road built on transparency and partnership has taken shape. The IMEC corridor continues redefining possibilities for global commerce. And as long as nations choose cooperation over confrontation, this corridor will light the path forward.